Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today I'm going to be playing part 2 of my Rule the Waves Succession series with Tortuga Power and XTRG. I will say that I'm a little bit under the weather, but in the interest of keeping the game moving forward, I am recording this video. I do apologize last time around, I did not have OBS set up in a way that allowed you to easily see different windows as they popped up, and I missed quite a few of them actually. So just going to kind of run over a few things that you probably missed. I know I was talking about the battleships and what have you, but if we take a look at our ships, and we take a look at their abilities, the Trident class is the 15,000-ton, 19-knot battleship class that I was not very impressed with. You can see here it has single turrets at 12 inches in the front, and then it has one 12-inch in the midships on each side, so the max it can fire in any broadside is 3 12-inch guns. That makes it a pretty weak battleship. Fortunately, we only have 2 of them. Well, actually, no, we have 4 of them. Then you have the Ocean class, which is 12,800 tons. It has 4 12-inch guns and 12 6-inch guns. This is a reasonable class. The armor is about on par with the Trident, but it has a 4-gun broadside in addition to 12 6-inch guns, just like I believe the Trident had as well. But it's those 2 double turrets versus the 4 single turrets that really give the Ocean an advantage. And then you have the Marengo class, which is my favorite. It has the 4 12-inch guns as well, but this one has 16 6-inchers. It's 15,500 tons, 19 knots, but the secondaries are also in turrets, as you can see here. So it's got 16 6-inchers in turrets as well. So you don't have to worry about sea keeping. You know, if the weather is rough, sometimes if they're in casemates can not be able to be used because it could risk flooding the ship. These are all in turrets above the freeboard, so you don't have to worry about that. It is a little bit less armored than I would like, but it's definitely the flagship class, if you will, the Marengo class, if you will. In terms of ships under construction, we have 1 Marengo, which we laid down, a 19-knot. And then we have 3 battleships we inherited. There's 1 Brennus-class battleship, which is also 4 12-inchers. It's a little bit weaker armor, slightly lower tonnage, and slightly slower. In my opinion, it is inferior to the Marengo in every regard. It does have heavier secondary guns with 14 7-inchers instead of the 16 6-inchers, but looks like they're in casemates as well. So I still think the Marengo is a better design. And then you have the Charles Martel, then you have the Charles Martel class as well, which is another one of those smaller 12,000-ton battleships. Heavier armor with 10-inch guns and 4 12-inch guns, but its secondary 6-inch battery is slightly smaller with only 12, and it also has the guns in casemates rather than turrets. So certainly is interesting, but has some flaws to it. Meanwhile, we've got our weird-looking French armored cruiser, the Cosmo, much more of a commerce raider. 8 7-inch guns is not terrible. That's certainly a heavy armament with 8 main guns, but they're only 7-inchers as opposed to 8-inchers, but incredibly light armor. Not something I want to repeat. Probably will be used as a commerce raider if any war starts. And then you have our Levasseur class light cruisers, which are 5,100 tons, 8 6-inchers, 10 3-inchers, limited armor, but actually if you look at it, it's about on par with the armored cruisers. Only 5,100 tons and makes 22 knots. That will be a commerce raider and a fleet screening ship if war does evolve. The only weakness is only 2 torpedo tubes, which might be a little bit of a weakness for a light cruiser, but not something I'm too worried about. If we look at our in-service cruisers, jumping back, the Guidon is kind of our best. 4 7-inch guns and single turrets, 1 fore, 1 aft, and then 1 on each midship, and then 10 6-inchers with a pretty strong armored belt as well, 6 inches of armor. You then have the Dupertours, which is a slightly larger ship, 21 knots, long-range warship, 4 8-inchers. Actually, this is by far our best cruiser. I misspoke. 14 6-inchers. The only difference between this and our battleships really is the 4-inch difference in their main battery guns, although the armor is a little bit weak. And that's kind of the state of the fleet. The destroyers, we've got 2 destroyer classes. I don't know if we really need to look at them. 3-inch and 2-inch guns and torpedo tubes, although only 2 of them on that class. This class also only has 2. So overall, that is the French fleet. We are 6 months in now. We're into June of 1900. We have a dock size of dock size of 16,000. We're building to expand that. And that will be done in 10 months. And we're currently researching at 9%. Now, I've been advised from multiple people that 10% is the standard. I'm comfortable bumping it up to 10 to try and accelerate research. I wish I could go higher than 10, actually, but it doesn't let me. Meanwhile, in terms of priority, I'm not quite sure what the best route is to go with all of this. I kind of am of the mind that machinery development could be secondary to caliber guns, if only because machinery tends to save weight. And if I've already got the largest docks, saving weight may not be the most important thing. Additionally, submarines. I'm actually going to downplay submarines. I'm not a big submarine warfare guy. We're going to focus on the cruiser as our method for raiding commerce. So we're going to drop submarine research priority to low to try and give better research to these other categories. Let's see here. So we'll drop submarines to low. We increase naval guns to high last time around. And I think we'll leave the rest as is. And I'll probably end up designing, actually we've got 1.8 million spare monthly cash. Let's go ahead and design a new armored cruiser class, because I'm not terribly thrilled with any of ours. The closest armored cruiser that I am happy with is, like I said, the Pre-Dreadnought, which has 4 8-inch guns, 14 6-inch guns, and casemates along the flanks. I probably would be willing to reduce those secondary guns in exchange for a larger armored belt. I really want our armored cruisers to kind of almost be like battle cruisers, except up-armored, kind of like instead of the heavy armor armament for like 12-inch guns that a battle cruiser would have with light armor. I prefer the route of heavy armor and light armament. That would kind of be my thought process. It's a very German mentality. It fits very much in what the German battleships of this age followed, with a very robust armor, but somewhat weaker armament. But we'll go ahead and we're going to design a ship. You can see here. And I think everything should be on the screen for you guys to see. We're going to choose the CA class. We can't do a battle cruiser quite yet. And actually what I usually like to do is an auto-design ship and then modify it from there. So you can see here, if we choose an auto-design, it gives us an auto-design name, the Lactour Trevel, and I'm sorry, I don't know French and I can't pronounce it, so I apologize to everyone there. You can see here in terms of main guns, it mounts 4 8-inch guns, 1 turret fore, 1 turret aft, which I'm fine with. 110 rounds per gun is kind of a lot, actually. 13,000 tons is pretty heavy. It's actually heavier than some of our lighter battleships. And the belt armor leaves a little bit to be desired. I'm not too worried about torpedoes either, frankly, for a heavy cruiser, so I may be willing to dump those. And 7-inch secondary guns, I think, is a little bit excessive. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop that to a 6-inch gun, and I actually kind of like the idea, if only for hypothetical logistics which don't matter in the game. I almost like the idea of having a uniform secondary gun caliber between our battleships and armored cruisers. It would certainly simplify logistics and make quartermasters' jobs easier. Doesn't really play into factor anything in the game, but I do like that idea. We're going to go ahead and see if we can put these guns in double turrets, and we'll update the ship graphic. So you like that idea of those 6-inch guns, 14 of them along the flanks of the ship. Actually, we'll just make it 12 to save some weight, because I'm going to be up-armoring the thing. So we'll go ahead and with 3 on each midship, and then you've got the 4 main guns, 2 fore, 2 aft. And then you've got a couple of 4-incher tertiary. Actually, you don't, which I don't need any tertiary guns. These 6-inchers should fire rapidly enough and put out enough shells to impede any torpedo ships coming at us. So you can see here we have some weight remaining, about 500 tons worth of weight. I'm actually looking at upping this ship to, we'll say 13,500 tons. Well, maybe let's make it 14,000 tons. Long-range ship, it's going to be somewhat of a commerce raider. Very heavy at 14,000 tons, but it wasn't uncommon for the British especially, and a little bit earlier than this time frame, the French, to build cruisers that were almost displacing as much weight as a battleship, but without the battleship armament, although often came close. It was really the armor That was the difference. We're going to drop that main gun ammo to 100 rounds. I think that's sufficient. And we have almost 1,000 tons to play with. So let's see what we can do with our armor. I really want to make these borderline battleships. What if we... Okay, so 8 inches of belt armor is a little bit too much for us. Let's see here. We're going to need to make our engines reliable as well. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to up this to a 15,000 ton warship. I know that's a battleship. It really is. But we're expanding our dock size and we're going to increase the size of our battleship fleet. This is basically like a German Friedrich der Grosse, I believe it was, class, which was kind of the second class of German pre-Dreadnought battleships. I think I'm getting that right. I could be wrong. But it was the class after the, I think it was the Deutschland class, or sorry, the Brandenburg class, which had that unusual 6 main guns, which is kind of like a quasi-Dreadnought, except the middle gun was centered in between kind of various equipment in the center of the ship. Could fire either way. It had a shortened barrel and a different caliber, just a bizarre design. But then the class after that with like 9-inch guns with really heavy armor, this could actually fight something like that. But that's kind of what I'm going for here. So we'll go with engine reliability. We need to make sure that these things don't break down. See if we can bump it up to 22 knots, so it'll be really fast, at least for this era. Freeboard normal, 15,000 ton displacement, long range. We've got 8-inch belt armor, which is quite a lot. 3-inch belt extended. I think that's fine. It's not really over the vitals, so that should be okay. What if we bump it up to 2.5? 2.5 inches, too much on the deck armor, although I do like that 2.5 idea. So let's see what we can do here. Maybe we drop the turret armor to 5 instead of 5.5, and we drop the secondary armor to 3. So that saves us just enough. Normal accommodations, so we're not going to do cramped. It could save us some weight, but we already had one ship last round that was having some issues with cramped compartments. Complement 615 men. I like the idea of colonial service, but what do we have to do to increase? If it's only like 200 tons. Whoa. Okay. So maybe we just do, let's see. No, I'm not going to drop it too far. But maybe we just do 100 extra tons. And then 100 rounds is kind of where I want it to be. Shoot. Could do narrow armor, but that would be much less effective. Could slow it. What if can I do this? Whoa, not 51,000. Good lord. Thank goodness. I can't do it. Fine, 15,000. I don't want to do 200 tons, though. I really don't. This ship is going to be crazy expensive for a cruiser. I could cut the torpedo tubes. Maybe that's what I'll do. It won't save me quite enough weight, but update the graphic. Everything's fine there. No mines, fine. No torpedoed events, fine at this time. Colonial service. I do want it to be able to be for colonial because it'll probably be my flagship in Southeast Asia, which is why I'm kind of stickling on this. And I guess we'll just increase by 100 tons. So it's 15,100 tons. Small amount of weight, but not much. No torpedoes. Maybe I would add that in a rebuild later if machinery improvements allowed us to lighten the load a bit. But here you go. Here's our super cruiser, if you will, the La Tour Travel, the armored cruiser, which will be raiding the oceans if we can afford more than one of them. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and save it. Note, rate of fire for secondary guns reduced by 40% due to lack of suitable training and elevation gear for secondary turrets. Note, turret A main guns less than 9-inch caliber and turrets without reliable training and elevation gear. Turret rate of fire reduced by 10%. 10% I'm okay with. 40% seems like a lot. Turret Y main gun less than 9-inch caliber. Total rate of fire mod. I don't know if I... Yikes. Shoot. What happens if we do this? you still get the rate of fire penalty. Only 20% though. So you get a huge rate of fire penalty by having the secondary guns and turrets, it looks like, based on our research currently. We don't have the technology to support it, I suppose, which could be really bad in a fight versus enemy cruisers, especially without any tertiary guns. What if we have some 3-inch quick fires? Four-inch quick fires? This may still have the same problem, though. Turret Y, turret A. Rate of fire for secondary guns reduced by 40%. So I don't know if that applies to the tertiary. I'm really not sure. But I guess we'll just keep him that way. I mean, if that's all it takes. I mean, adding these 10... Well, we can fit a bit more. So adding these 14 4-inch guns, actually, one would think would add quite a bit of firepower. Still going to, I think, be suffering the rate of fire mod, but I guess we'll see. This may be a poorly designed ship. So we're going to go ahead and build one of these things. 15,200 tons. Monthly build cost $2 million. Jesus. Yeah. First ship of the class. Ooh, wait. We're not going to build it quite yet. We need a little bit of extra money because we're going to be in the we're going to be in the red, and we'll use all of our money design, having the first class of the ship. So I think we'll wait a few turns. A spy from Japan has been discovered. What do you do? Give maximum publicity to denounce the aggressive actions of Japan. Handle it quietly and discreetly. What'll that do? So nothing happens if we handle it quietly, discreetly. Maximum publicity will increase tensions, but only slightly. And it gives me more money to play with, so now we can lay down our super cruiser. So we'll go ahead and build that ship. We're going to build the La Tour Treville, expensive-ass ship. First, yeah, that's fine. So the lead class of the ship, I don't know what LC stands for. Not sure what LC stands for. But anyway, it's more expensive to build than our battleships. Awesome. So there you go. We should have a couple ships coming off the stocks shortly, including a new heavy cruiser. And then I think we may move our fleet. Actually, why don't we move our fleet around now? So right now... Whoa. Where are we looking? Okay, let's zoom in. So if we go to home waters, we can see that in Western France, we've got quite a bit of base capacity, 1,400. Northern Europe, what's this? Southern France has equal base capacity, so we don't need to worry about that. Northern Europe requires, let's see. It does require, well, no, it doesn't. It's hard to tell. Anyway, I want to move some ships away. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to move... What ships do we want to move? Let's move our best battleships, which are the Marengio class. So we're going to move the 3 Marengios, which are the Marengio, the Sulfurno, and the Corbeil. Marengio, Sulfur, and Corbeil. We're going to go ahead and move them to southern France, which is the Mediterranean, I believe. Yeah. So we'll go ahead and move them. Trying to think if we want to move the Guidion as well, which are our best armored cruisers, I think. We'll move them also. Because mainly I'm worried about a war with Italy or Austria. Those are kind of my... hypothetical opponents that I would like to fight. So if we're going to fight them, I want to make sure that we are ready to do so. We'll go ahead and move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, we're going to move all but one of these modern destroyers. And... oh, wait. We're going to move to the Mediterranean. There you go. All right, so we're moving a huge portion of our fleet to the Mediterranean. They're going to be based out of southern France, which is on the Mediterranean, I believe, actually. Wait, no. So... oh, no, that's Northern Europe? Really? Huh. Okay. I don't know if we have the basis to support this. It does say we have 1,500 base... southern France must be in the Mediterranean. It doesn't look like it on this map, but it must be. Just based on what it's telling us we have for bases, base capacity. There's no way... yeah, these guys don't even come close. So anyway. And these guys are the 1,400 just basically by themselves. So yeah. Okay. Anyway, I'm sorry, guys. I just lost myself in thought. So I think that's all we're going to do this turn. We're going to go ahead and bump forward to the next turn. And let's see here. There's been a rebellion in the Italian possession of Eritrea. What do you recommend? Wait. Oh, Italy. Right. And I was just talking about going to war with them, right? We should support the rebels to create trouble for Italy in the interest of all nations. We should mediate. Or we should help root out the rebels. No, we're going to support the rebels. It's going to double our tension with Italy. And there you go. We're moving quickly toward war with Italy. So given that we are moving quickly toward war, what are we getting ourselves into? Looks like a large portion of our fleet has relocated. So we now have 4 battleships in the Mediterranean. And if we take a look at the forces in the region, we have 4 battleships, 2 heavy cruisers, and 19 destroyers. The enemy in Italy has 8 battleships, so double our battleship numbers, 4 times our heavy cruiser numbers. We don't have any light cruisers, and they have 33 destroyers. So that's their home area, that's their home fleet, that's where their home fleet is based. We may want to move some more ships into the region, especially some light cruisers. I think we'll move 4 light cruisers. I'm not planning a war immediately, and I think we may still have some time, but we'll do it anyway. So we're into August of 1900. We're provoking Italy. We're getting closer and closer to war. The increased tensions does increase our budget, so we get a little bit more money as tensions go up. And under construction, we've got some new ships which should be coming off the slips shortly. You can see the lead of the Lavoisier class, the light cruiser class that I'm really high on for commerce rating, is about to come out. And within 7 months, we'll have 3 more battleships. So that'll be nice. If we look at the almanac to see what Italy has, they have 8 battleships. We have 11. They have 4 being built. We also have 4. But remember, they're much more concentrated just in Italian waters. They're not building any heavy cruisers. We're building 2, so we'll have an advantage there. But again, they have the advantage of concentration of force. They're building some light cruisers, so are we, but they'll have an advantage there. And we're not building any destroyers, and they are building some. Meanwhile, we still haven't really researched anything. The only thing we've increased is our AP penetrators, which I think we take advantage of just because shells aren't ship-specific. So I think we're already taking advantage of that. Meanwhile, I think actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and lay down some... whoops, I'm not going to design a new ship, but I am going to go ahead and lay down some of the destroyer classes that we already have in place, the 500-ton ones, and I think we'll build 5 of them. We will be a little bit in the red, but when these new ships come off the ways, we'll be fine. We need a few more destroyers. They're built quickly in only 9 months as well, and the additional 5 will bring us up to 40 total. I may need to reposition some of my fleet overseas shortly, but I'm not too worried about that right this turn. You can see how our ship Lavoisier is commissioned into the Navy. So there you go, new light cruiser. The Prime Minister floats the idea of a shooting competition for all ships in the Navy. He believes this will increase morale and combat readiness in the fleet. Holding such a competition will subsequently increase maintenance costs this month. Let's see here. An excellent idea. Let's do it. I like the idea of a shooting competition. And the battleship Sofreno wins the shooting competition. Okay. President Austria-Hungary is complaining their navy has too few cruisers. USA's laying stuff down. We're not too worried about them. Great Britain, not really worried about them. Italy's commissioned a new light cruiser of their own. And Italian scientists are having trouble mastering the principles of destroyer up to 600-ton displacement. So good. Always good to see the Italian scientists having trouble. I think we're going to speed through the rest of 1900 without doing too much. I do want to get some of these ships. I think maybe once this heavy cruiser Cosmo is completed, I may actually increase my training to gunnery. There's a high probability. Oh, private shipbuilding is expanding. Max dock size increases by 1,000 tons. Nice. One of the cruisers has run aground on the shore of a minor nation while performing illicit intelligent operations. They threaten to impound the ship. What's our reaction? Demand they release the ship and send a strong squadron to underline the point. Offer sincerest apologies for the navigational error and compensation to make them release the ship. Let them examine the ship and even risk exposing sensitive technology. Why would that increase tensions? Why would allowing them to examine the ship increase tensions? Let's see, where are we at? That increases tensions by 2. I don't think we're quite... It'll be close. We're almost at war with Italy. There you go. Research breakthroughs. Multiple research breakthroughs. And Italy's laid down a new heavy cruiser. So we are just about at war with Italy. Looks like one more notch up of the tensions, and we would have war. Not quite ready. I'd like a few more months. I didn't mean to rush right into a war. I certainly have no problem fighting Italy, but I think we need to wait it out a little bit. I'm not too worried, though. I don't mind the idea of a war this early, if only because submarines should be more or less a non-factor, I'm hoping. But let's see if we can get through. Italy has crushed the rebels in Eritrea. Okay. Trials found the ship somewhat overweight. A good thing I didn't build any more of that class. Let's see here. So one of our ships finished working up, and we just finished another ship. So we're into November. We have quite a bit of extra money. And what I'm actually going to do is, given it seems like we may be fighting soon, I'm going to go ahead and apply increased training costs. It does take time for them to take effect, but I really am a big fan of gunnery. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Torpedo development as well. We may need to look at starting to rebuild some of our ships with some of the weight savings that we've had, although I don't really know if the additional weight savings means much for the current ships. It may be more important for the future ships. We'll go ahead and see if we can get through one more. The Italian Navy has a majority of their heavy ships in active status. What should we do? They're probably just conducting annual maneuvers. Don't fret about it. Send a note suggesting they reduce their stance in the interest of peace and stability. Okay. Or mobilize all our major ships in reserve. Well, we don't have any major ships in reserve, so that seems foolish to do. Send a note and suggest they reduce their stance in the east of peace and stability. I don't know. Do they do surprise attacks? Like, they're probably just conducting annual maneuvers. Don't fret about it. Or send a note. It's a question mark. It's a gamble. What happens if we take it? Oh, wow, that's interesting. Italy has notified us that they will put some of their large ships in reserve after concluding their fleet exercises. Okay. That's interesting. Meanwhile, we have a little bit of extra cash. We're going to go ahead and put some intel in on Italy because, frankly, if we're about to be fighting them, we probably want to know a little bit about what's going on. But we are on the verge of war. Budget's okay. I'm building kind of a balanced fleet. That's my thought. At least that's my hope. I want to lay down another Laktuktu class, but it may need to wait for some of these other ships to come off the slips because we don't have a ton of money. Unrest level at 1 is good. Prestige at level 22 is nice. That's up 2 from where we started. But we may need to, again, move some ships around next turn because I would almost guarantee a war occurs within the next year. Italy's not too far flung. They do have some colonies in the Indian Ocean. We only have one heavy cruiser there. They don't have anything there. And maybe if we build an overwhelming force there, we can take Eritrea. But other than that, we don't really have to worry too much about our overseas colonies, dealing with them, and mainly just we need to worry about concentrating our forces in the event of a war. But I think that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed the second video. I hope everything turned out image-wise. Like I said, I corrected the way I was capturing everything, so I'm hoping you guys see all the little pop-ups as they come across the screen. I think you should. But it's after 2 in the morning here my time, so I should probably cut off the recording. And until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching, and I'm out.